Hey, what's up, peeps? Welcome back to Milford Rail and Chopgate Town. Going to be doing something a little different in this video. You might find it a bit more interesting than the last videos, the rebuilding of Chopgate Town. What I'm going to be doing is investigating a Lima Class 09 engine. Came in a job lot of engines that I got recently, and when placed on the track, found it to be completely dead, no life in it whatsoever. Now, Lima motors are generally bulletproof, dare I say that. They're quite easy to sort out. I mean, there's very little components to them, quite easy to sort out. So hopefully by the end of this video we'll have it running as sweet as a nut. Hopefully that's the plan. But you never know, the best laid plans never work, so we shall see what happens. So I'll get the engine out and we'll dig into it, find out why it's dead. Right, here we have said engine 09026. Body's in relatively good condition. There's a bit of something there. So yes, when I tried it, it was just completely dead, and there's no plate. Sometimes you can spin the wheels on these motors, but that is not moving at all. So something has definitely seized up. So let's get the body off and see what we can find. Now, I always, if I buy a job lot, I take out the items that I want, and I usually sell the rest on. But before I sell them on, I always make sure that they are working and service them, give them a clean, fresh oil, a bit of white grease, strip them bare, back to bare components, rewire them, and yeah, clean the wheels, make sure they're all okay. So right, we have got to the motor. Now, just putting my finger on the drive gear, there is no movement there whatsoever. So something quite drastic seems to have happened. There's just no movement from the motor at all. So I think we're going to have to get the motor out, and like I say, I'm going to rewire this, so I'm just going to snip the pickup wires off like that. And there's two clips, and you can see the side of the motor. Pull them apart, lift the motor forward, and the motor should come out. So let's just check. Yep, the wheels are all spinning freely. So the issue is definitely in the motor. So let's have a look. I can't see any visual evidence of what the problem is. So let's try the gear wheels again. Yep, that is definitely not moving. So we'll get the gear wheels off, just lift the bottom of the keep plate on over the pin, slide him out over the top. That's not a very good sign to start with. Now, if you can see just there, it's a bit of rust. That's not a good sign to start with. Now I'll just scrape a bit of that off, put that to one side. Let's get these gear wheels off. Okay, there's no damage to the wheel. The drive cog looks all okay, that one. Take the smaller one off the bottom, and again, doesn't look to be any problems with that. So yeah, so I think we'll remove the brush housing, see if I can lose any springs. Just carefully lift up the spring keep plate, flat-headed screwdriver in the end to lift the spring out. Just pop it on one side. The brush has fallen out. That looks a bit manky. That spring doesn't look very clever actually. That one I've just taken out. Do the same with the other one. Just lift that out gently. Pop it on one side. That bush, that's not so bad, that one. So yeah, and then we've got 2 small flat-headed screws to take out. I'll just whip them out. Oops, lost the screw. And then the plate should just lift off. Ah, that's interesting. Now, it's not supposed to do that. But the armature is supposed to stay in there. But it's actually come out on the faceplate. So, obviously there is an issue with the faceplate. And on closer inspection, I don't know if you can see, in there, it's supposed to be a nice shiny piece of metal that looks like this piece on the axle. But it's rusty. Is that our problem? Let's see if we can remove the armature. That is very tight in there. So I think at some point this will have got wet. Yes, and it's brought the brass, the bushing from out of the housing with it. So yeah, that is our problem. Water damage is what we shall say. Yeah, we've got a bit of water damage. I mean, that keep plate, give it away slightly, that holds the drive wheels on, with it having a bit of rust on the end. So, can we get this off without damaging it? He says. Whether I risk giving it a bit of WD-40, because that is not moving. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it because of the, I don't want to damage the armature too much if I can help it. Yeah. Right, I think I'll give that a tiny little blast of WD-40 and leave it a couple of minutes. Okay, so I've just given this a bit of a squirt with some WD. There's still no signs of movement on it yet. I might have to try a bit more persuasion. I don't want to do this too hard because I don't want to damage any of the components. Well, I don't know if you got that at saying I didn't want to damage it. Yeah, it came off. I got it off. But, yeah, I don't know where it's gone. It went flying. And it might have broken because it sounded as though it went flying in 2 different places. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. It's a good job I've got some spares, isn't it? One piece went, it sounded as though something went over this direction. But, not to no worry. like I say, it's a good job I've got some spares. So, right, put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. How bad is it? It's not that bad. Not bad really. There's just a little, I don't know how well you can see this. There's just a little ring around there on the axle, and the end is just a little bit rusty. But I'm going to have a go at cleaning that up. Get my little trusted bottle with meths, filled with meths. Where did that go? Cotton bud. Let's just give it a wash in meths, see what we can get off. Not much is moving, to be honest. I've got some of this Abrapol, I can't pronounce it. That's a propylated alcohol stuff. I'm rubbish at pronouncing things. So I've got some of that. We might try that on it as well, but just give this a good working in, get rid of most of it. Okay, it's not removed that much. As long as I don't damage those wires from the armature to the disc, we'll be all right. So, take my file, just get rid of some of that rust off the top of that axle. Just round the edge of it very lightly, trying not to damage the armature. That looks okay, that pin. Right, I shall just go and find a replacement motor housing top. I've got plenty of these lying about, so it's a split way. Saying I've got plenty of them, I've got two spares, but we only need one. And I won't be surprised if these have come off the lima all nice to start with. Okay, let's have a look. That one's a bit pin's a bit bent on that one. We'll just straighten that up a little. That's better. Okay, so yeah, inside there, that centre brass ring is the one that's gone flying somewhere. I've still not found it, so it doesn't matter. How does that? Just put that into there, just make sure it does spin. Oh yeah, that spins fine if you can see it. So yeah, I think we'll be good to go, so we can get rid of that one. That's no good now. So we've got a bit of rust on the magnets as well, on the magnet plates. Don't know the correct term for these things, so I'm just going to lightly go over them with the file, just clean them up a bit. Yeah, that'll do. So yes, I want to get rid of this crud off there, off the armature. And if excuse me, and if meths won't shift it, I'll just take in a bit more of an abrasive method to it. Use my track rubber or a segment of it. This is quite well on. This motor has been well used, because it's not coming off at all, even with the abrasive rubber. It's taking some work in this one. Let's put some pressure on it, and it's still quite a lot of carbon build up. And we get most of it off anyway. It is slowly coming off. I mean, okay, so maybe I shouldn't be using this abrasive on this plate of the armature, but I've been doing this way for I don't know how many years. I've lost count. And if it cleans it, it cleans it, and it's not going to do any significant harm to the motor. It's not going to wear the carbon brushes out any faster, any of the marks. So if it's anything, it's not going to affect it whatsoever. It just helps clean it up, get rid of the carbon build up, and leave a nice flat finish for the brushes to run against. That looks fine, so I'll go around it again with the meths, clean it up with that, get any loose bits off it, give it all a nice good scrub. Like that. And that will do. Move my mess out of the way, because I always knock it over. So, right, back to the housing itself. I'm not sure if this has had a bit of damage, I don't know, but we'll get rid of, see if there's any crap on there. If you're a regular user to carpet, what I call carpet railways, is around the gear wheels you get a load of carpet fibres caught in there, and it does not do your engines any good at all. It can potentially burn them out, if not cause a fire. I've never known it to cause a fire, but if it's sparking onto a carpet fibre, I mean, carpets these days are probably fireproof anyway, but older carpets, you know, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. Just give a wipe inside the magnet. Bit of tissue stuck in there. But yeah, inside the housing looks perfectly fine. So I think that will run no problem. Right, okay, so next, I'll try and answer a question on it. I've seen a lot of people asking what to use to lubricate the motors. Now, there's a lot of other non-railway related oils and things you can use, but the ones that you must not use, I can't emphasize enough, is the general purpose 3-in-1 oil and WD-40. It is not good for engines, for lubrication for them. I always recommend this white grease for one thing, just for bearings and stuff. But the main one is what you get in a little tube like this. It's Gauge Master Loco oil, and it is the proper stuff. It just comes with a little nib point on the end, so you only need the smallest amount of this stuff. It is really good. The grease, this tube I bought quite a while ago was about £7, which I thought was a bit expensive, but the amount of engines I've done with it outweighs that cost. And the Gauge Master Loco oil, I think you can get there's some on eBay recently at £4.95. I'm not sure if postage was included or that was extra, I'm not sure. But I would strongly recommend this Gauge Master Loco oil. You should be able to get it from most local model shops. So anyway, back to the 08. What I'm going to do, what I always do, is in the centre, the bearing where the axle for the armature goes, I'll just squeeze just a dab of white grease in there, just to help with the dreaded Ringfield squeal that you find on a lot of Ringfield motors. Homebee are the worst ones for it. They get dry bearings, and yeah, it's not a very nice sound for a start, but what squeal is nice. So then stick the armature back in there, pushes the grease into place, just wipe off any excess, and that looks better, and that will actually spin freely. So we've got rid of the dead problem, and she spins freely in there. Then, right, let me just have a quick look at this housing. It looks okay. Yeah, I'll just have a check on the centre pin, because we want to make sure that is clean. Cocktail stick, just run it straight through, give it a twist round. There's nothing coming off on it. Dip it in a bit of meth just to see if there is any residual carbon or anything built up inside. Come here. Doesn't help to keep it clean. I spilled a bit of meth. Give it a rub round in there, and there's nothing coming off, so we know that's good. So give it a wipe, move that wire out of the way, and it all looks good on both sides. Looks okay. Ignore the wires for the moment. So that looks all fine. So I shall put that back on the motor, make sure I get it on the right way. So the motor clips in that way, and we need the motor to go on that way. Okay, so yeah, that's the way it's going to, no, that's the right way. I do apologise, I'm getting it wrong myself. That's the right way. So I'm going to fit it. I'll put a bit of white grease in there. Come on. Now you're supposed to go in there some way. There we go. Line it up. And put the screws back in. There we go. That's the motor back, that's the armature back in its housing. So, yep, that's all good there. Right, I'm going to do something with these wires. Yeah. Right, so next what I'm going to do is check the gear wheels over again, and we'll put these back on. They all look fine. Again, with the cocktail stick, just run it through the middle, make sure there's nothing in there. And on the motor housing, just where the gears sit, just a smidgen of white grease on both the pins. Stick the wheel on, give it a turn with your finger, bed the grease in a bit. That's the little one in, the big one. Stick a bit of grease on the gear wheel at the back, rub it in with your finger. Under the housing where the armature comes out. Come on, sit on, and there we go. That's spinning free enough. Just give it a wipe. And then somewhere I've got my retaining clip, or whatever you want to call them. This has got a bit of rust on it, hadn't it? So where did I do with my file? I'm going to file that off. Just give it a rub down. That's a bit better. And I've found that the hole, when I think they've stamped some of these, especially on the Hornby ones, I think they're stamped, the holes, not drilled, because you always get a very rough edge. So I tend to just rub it down, make sure it's all nice and smooth on both sides, and then it's not trying to rub into the gear wheels. So that's much better. That feels nice and smooth on both sides now. So again, just a little bit of copper grease. I'm not fixing cars. Just on the top of there, should be suffice. Then slide the pin under, lift the pin over the axle, push it into place, and there we go. And that runs nice and freely now. So that's that assembled. Basically that's the motor fully assembled. So left to do is to reinstall the bushes and the springs and to rewire it, and also we need to clean the wheels. And it's so easy with these coupled wheels to clean the wheels while the motor's out. It's so much easier. So that's what I'll do, and they do run fine. I might just lift the bottom plate off just to see if there's anything under there on the axles that shouldn't be there, just to clean it out, and might put a drop of white grease on the axles so they spin even freer. So yeah, we're getting there. I should be running in no time. Right, so we are going to put the springs and bushes back in now. So what I do, take your bush, I mean that one's not looking too bad, just lob it in your tub of meths. That's all I do, just for a minute. Grab your tweezers onto a piece of kitchen towel or something, and then just pick it up, and then the end that's contact with the armature, just rub it on your kitchen towel. And any massive amounts of carbon come off, then just keep doing it and repeating. That's come off with no marks whatsoever on the kitchen towel at all, and that looks fine. I don't know if you can see that at all. That looks perfectly fine. So I'm just going to drop that straight back in, and that's that done. Now I know one of them looked quite bad, got quite a bit of carbon on it, so it could be this one, but then again, there's no build up, there's nothing coming off, so it looks pretty good actually. I don't know if you see it. And again, drop it in the other hole, and that's the bushes in. They look nice and clean. Now the worst bit, the springs. Flat-headed screwdriver is the easiest way I've found. Have the springs laid down on your bench. You can't really see them on the camera. And just gently push your screwdriver into the top of the spring. So I don't know if you can see that. Just hanging there. And then hold it in place, get your finger ready. Your trigger finger. Just hold it in place or let go. This one's gone in nice. And then just line it up, the little nobule on the plate with the spring, and close it down. They do need a bit closing a bit more, so I need to tweak that a bit more. Now, this spring doesn't seem so clever. I don't know if you can see that, if it will focus on it or not, I don't know. It looks as to being stretched slightly, but it's not broken, it's not badly out of shape, so that will still function. So again, we'll steady my hand, drop the spring in there, close the gate. And then we're at a stage now where I can just try this. I can put some power to it and we can see how it runs, which I will take you over to the test track and we'll give it a whiz. Okay, so here we are at the test track. My trusty old Hammer & Morgan controller and a couple of crocodile clipped power leads. Right, take your motor, one clip on each of the bush plates. Make sure your fingers are out of the way and we don't have any movement. Ah, that's interesting. Okay, spinning the back of the motor with my finger, I can feel some resistance. So maybe we have a spring issue. Yes, there we go. You can hear it running. So I think that spring definitely needs replacing. Can't put it on there, can I? On there, so yeah. So that is running nicely. Very nice. Nice and quiet. Just nicely ticking over. I don't know if you can see the gear wheels. It's difficult to show a motor working on video. But you can just see the wheels going round slowly, even slower. So yeah, that's running fine. That, whoops, contacts come off. I still think I'm going to replace that spring though. I think I've got some lima springs somewhere. But yeah. Lovely. One working motor. Perfect. Right, back on the workbench. I've got my packet of springs and bushers and other bits and pieces. And what have we got? Have we got any that's suitable? Let's have a look in here. They're small ones, so they're probably from mainline engines. They look bigger ones. Might have to use one of those. Mainline spring and bushers. Triangle spring and bushers. Triangle bushers. Triangle brush springs. Spring plates. So I think we'll have to use one of those. Getting them out of the packet is a little more tricky than picking them up, because when you've got a packet of springs together, there's a good chance that you've got picking up 2 or 3 at once and you don't realise. So have we got one there? Yes, we've got one spring there. Put them out of the way. Now, which one was the dodgy one? That one. So I don't want to lose that spring. Just lift him out again. Yeah. Yes, I think it's been stretched to fit. So I don't know if you can see it. It's not brilliant. So we'll put him out of the way for now. And we'll put the new one in. Again, just pop him in, hold it in place, close the flap, and there she's in. So just give a tweak on the other side, make sure it closes a bit more, and there we go. So that, to me, apart from soldering the new wire back on, that is now done. So I can turn my attention to cleaning the wheels. But I said we was going to take the bottom plate off just to have a look. There's only a couple of screws that hold it in place. Couple of screws. One looks a bit rusty. This has definitely been in contact with either a lot of moisture where it's been stored, or it's been submerged in water. Remove the coupling because I can't get the bottom plate out with that in. Come on, you stubborn devil. Come out. There we go. And then take the bottom plate off. And let's lift the wheels out. Taking into account which way he took the wheels on and off. Okay, that one's getting caught, so we could have a back-to-back issue, but I will check that shortly. If you will come out with you. Why are you being so stubborn? Thank you. Okay, I don't know why that was being so stubborn. We can have a look at the contacts while we've got the wheels out. The pickups, they all look nice and clean. To say it's had, I think it's just been stored in with moisture, because it's pretty clean. It's pretty good. I've seen a lot worse. I've seen them absolutely thick with carpet hairs, fibres, and there's nothing untoward on the wheels, apart from just needing a good clean. Yeah, they just need a good clean. So, right, we'll just have a quick look at the back-to-backs. Now, they say there should be 14.5, but myself included, a lot of modelers do set them at 14.3. Then they find that they don't catch the inner frog so much. And what have we got? That's a bit tight on 14.3. So, yeah. We've got about 14.4 on that one. Come on, 14.2 on the middle set. Oops, too far. And 14.5 on the back, on the drive gear. That has actually pushed out to nearly 15. Interesting. So yeah, there should be, I shouldn't be able to push that in there at 15.2. I don't know if you can see 15. My hands are in the way. So I don't know. There's no play in them at all. So they're all good locked down. Yep, I think they'll be fine. Right, so let's put the wheels back in, which is easier said than done sometimes. Making sure that you've got all your pickups in the right place. The side rods look right. Pickups, don't forget that. And one there. Make sure the back of the wheel are not touching the face of the wheel. The back of the flange, if this one will go. This one's been a bit stubborn. There's always one. There we go. It's just a tad out of line. That one's doing. Yeah, that looks fine to me. So yeah, put the bottom plate in. I don't think I need to bother with any white grease in there. It all looks fine. So we'll put the screws back in. What I'll do is I'll get one of my points. I use Pico small radius points and check the back-to-backs going through the actual point and to see what it's like that way, see if it needs any major adjustments. It's not the easiest thing to do on these engines. Okay, so I've been and got one of my points, Pico, small radius, and just stick the chassis across the point, and if it runs smoothly through the fog and the check rail, then we know we're fine. We're not going to have any problems. Push it to one side, see if it catches anything. None of the wheels catch anything, so that's going to be fine. So next we can actually, or can we? Is that going to be an issue? No, I think we can put the motor back in the housing now. Again, it's just the same, the reverse of taking it out. Little pin on the back goes into the back of the chassis. The two little pins clip it into there, like that, and she's in. That feels all nice and free. So it's just a case of making some new wires. Move that one out the way, the suppressor. So we need one from there to there, one from there, well, from there to there. And we've got some wire. This is the wire I use for my engines. It's according to my doofer gauge, it's 0.9 of a millimetre. If that's got any relevance to you guys. Where's my wire cutters? Up there. So, couple of lengths. My soldering iron's already been on. It's nice and toasty warm. Twist the ends a bit of gobble on the end. Come on. Trim the end off. Now the fiddly bit. Now we want to be on there. And if you can see, down there is where we need to be. So just it's not quite there. That is. And there we go. One. That's one on. Another piece of wire. Move that out of the way. I always put solder on the wire first. Pre-solder it. Solder. Soda. Whichever way you want to say it, soda, solder. It's actually solder. There's an L in it. Yeah, so we just need to put that one on. This doofer? Doofer. What's a doofer? I don't know. Try doing it with my right hand. I'm right-handed, so I don't know why I'm trying to do it with my left hand. There we go. So what I need to do is shorten the wires, take it over to the test track, put it on the track, and make sure that I get the polarity the right way, the correct way, because we don't want it going backwards when it's supposed to be going forwards, do we? So yeah, I shall do that shortly. Good afternoon, guys. It's probably only a few minutes since the last clip on this video, but it's a new day for me, and I'm back here with finishing off the 09. All we need to do is just wire the wires from the motor to the track pickups, and we should be good to go. So I've just quickly tested them on the test track, so I know which wire which goes to where. So without further ado, let's get this done. So just need to check the wires are long enough. I don't think this one of them's long enough, to be honest. It's got to go over there, round there. Oh, it is. It's just long enough, see. It will just reach. So bring in the trusty soldering iron onto my soldering board. Then we'll just pre-solder these wires, and then we can put them in, connect them to the fish plates. A bit of solder on that end. Let's have a look at the pickup plate. There is a bit of wire on there already, so I need to get that off if my motor will stay there. So good old bent pliers. Get hold of the wire in one hand and just take the solder off. Come on, melt off. There we go. It's left a little bit behind. Come on. And it is only a little bit. Oh, it's come off anyway. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Oh, we've still got a little bit on there, but I think we'll be fine with that. Don't worry about that. And then we just take his wire, solder it onto the wheel pickup. Make sure it doesn't foul the wheel. Don't have too much heat on because you'll melt the plastic. That's that side on. That's all good. Just do the other side. I might need to trim the wire on that side a bit. Let's have a look. Yes, it is a bit too long. So we'll trim that off to about there. Give the end of the wire a bit of a twist. Stick some solder on it. Soda, as some people call it. Solder. There we go. Just trim the excess off. Now we've got a bit of, still got a bit of wire on this side, so again with the pliers, just take that bit of wire off like that, and then solder the new wire on. You can't really see what I'm doing. It's difficult. I'm still getting used to doing these videos, so you'll have to excuse me. I'll, get better over time. And there we go. So we've got both wires now soldered to the pickups. That's good to go. So all it's a case of doing now is just putting the weight back on, put the coupling back in, and sticking it on the test track and let it run off the end as it usually does. Come on, get in there. There we go. So I'll take it over to the test track, put my rolling road blocks on and see what happens. I'll take it over there in just a moment. Okay, so over here at the rolling road, I've got my rolling road rail blocks on. Pop the engine on them. There we go. Right, let's see what happens. Oh, there we go. Moves you around a touch. Oh yes. There we go. Can you see that? So there we go. Even slow scale speed as well. I think that's fine. I shall just leave it on the rolling road for a while, let it run in with the new grease and the oil, and put the body back on, and job's a good one. All done. So thank you for joining me along this little adventure to find out why this engine was not working. Turned out to be a seized armature shaft on the bearing, which I still haven't found. So yeah, any comments, please leave them below. Thanks for watching, and subscribe and like. Much appreciated. Thank you. Bye.